We are officially on Unit 4, so you need to glue in your Unit 4 cover page, and we're going to talk about the constant rate of change, and we are going to talk about the constant of proportionality, and then linear relationships and verbal descriptions, tables, graphs, and equations. So a little bit of review from the last unit, and then moving on to the next unit. So the first activity that we're going to do is the solving proportions notes page. Okay. And obviously we're talking about proportions. So a proportion is an equation that states that two ratios are equivalent. And you should remember that from Unit 3. A proportional relationship is a relationship between two quantities in which the ratio of one quantity to the other quantity is constant. And we know that constant means it stays the same. Okay. A rate of change is a ratio that compares the amount of change in the dependent variable compared to the amount of change in the independent variable. And in case you can't remember, dependent is your y, independent is your x. So it's y divided by x. Okay? So we are going to talk about this example. Callie earns money by dog sitting. She earns $112 when she works a full week. What is the unit rate? We're looking for unit rate. Remember unit means 1. So $112 when she works a full week. How much will she earn in 5 days? And what is the rate of change? We're going to talk about this in 3 different ways. We're going to talk about it as a word ratio. We're going to talk about our known ratio. And we're going to talk about our unknown ratio. Okay, our word ratio, we need to figure out which one is our independent and which one is our dependent. Is it the amount of money she makes that's going to happen regardless of how many days she works, or how many days she works is going to happen regardless of how much money she makes? So your days is your independent. Rule of thumb, time is always your independent. It's always your x. So we're going to do the money she makes divided by the days that she works. Okay? Money always goes on top. So what is our word ratio? Money over days. Okay? Let's talk about our known ratio. What do we know? We know that she makes $112 when she works a full week, which is 7 days. So if I want to find the unit rate, that's 1, I need to divide both of these by 7. So divide both of these by 7. And we're going to get 112 divided by 7. 7 goes into 11 one time, leaving 4, and add the 4 to the 2. 7 goes into 42 6 times. That gives us $16 for 1 day. Now our unknown ratio is how much is she going to make for 5 days. So see our proportion that we have set up here. So we can look at this and say, I know it's 1 times 5 is 5. So I'm going to do 16 times 5. Or another way that we can do it is that you could do 16 times 5 divided by 1. That's your cross products. It's going to end up being the same thing. Regardless, we're doing 16 times 5. 6 times 5 is 30. 5 times 1 is 5 plus 3 is 8. So that would be $80 for the 5 days that she worked. And right here, let's just put what our unit rate was again. So $16 for 1 day, or $16, the slash means per, day. All right. So the constant rate of change is $16 per day. As the day increases by 1, her income increases by a factor of 16. So she knows how much she's making for each day that she works. All right. So we're going to do some practice problems now. All right, so for A, we're going to say 10 over 8 equals x over 10. For B, 9 over 6 equals x over 10. For C, 7 over 5 is equal to x over 3. For D, 7 over x equals 8 over 7. And for E, 7.7 over 3.6 equals 2.3 over x. And for F, we're going to say 3.4 over x equals 2.17 over 7.7. You know they can't all be easy ones. So we can do the first one together just to make sure you understand what I'm expecting. I want to see your cross products equation. So 8 times x is 8x. And 10 times 10 is 100. And because the rates are set equal to each other, their cross products are also set equal to each other. And then we're going to solve it just like a one-step equation. How do I solve for x? Do the inverse operation of this 8 times x, which means divide both sides by 8. And if I say 100 divided by 8, I'm going to get 12.5. So x is going to equal 12.5. Now, how do I check that that answer is right? I can plug it back in up top and do 12.5 times 8. And 12.5 times 8 should give me 100. And if you work that out, it does. Okay, so that's the same way that I expect to see the other 5. Give me your cross products equation and then give me the solution. And I'd like to see you checking your solution as well. So something as simple as saying 12.5 times 8 is 100, and so that means that we're good.